Hey Miss Green, I keep hearing the term machine learning everywhere in apps, websites, even at work, but I still don't really get it. How do machines actually learn?
That's a great question, Paul. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Machine learning is when we teach computers to learn from data instead of programming them with fixed rules.
Wait, so you're telling me we don't give the computer direct instructions?
Exactly. Instead of saying, if this happens, do that, we show the computer lots of examples and let it figure out patterns on its own.
Examples? Like what?
Okay, let's say you want a computer to tell whether an email is spam or not. You give it thousands of emails, some labeled as spam and others as not spam. The machine studies these examples and starts spotting patterns like certain words or phrases that often appear in spam emails.
So the computer looks at those patterns and guesses if a new email is spam.
Exactly. When a new email arrives, the machine compares it to what it learned and predicts whether it's spam or not.
But what if it guesses wrong?
That's a smart question. At first, the computer does make mistakes, a lot of them. But each time it gets something wrong, it adjusts its understanding little by little. This process is called training.
Training. So it's kind of like how we learn from our mistakes?
Exactly. Just like how you learn to ride a bike, you wobbled, fell, adjusted your balance, and kept trying until you got it right. Machines learn in a similar way, constantly improving by trial and error.
That's actually pretty cool. So, the more data it sees, the smarter it gets?
Yes, but there is a catch. More data helps, but it's not just about quantity. If the model memorizes the data instead of learning the patterns, it won't work well with new information. That's called overfitting.
Oh, so it's like cramming for an exam. You might memorize the answers, but if the questions change, you're stuck.
Exactly. The goal is for the model to understand the rules behind the data, not just remember the answers.
So how do they actually learn? Is it the same for every task?
Not at all. There are different ways machines learn, depending on the problem. Supervised learning is when you train the machine with labeled data, like the spam example where you give both the input and the correct output. Unsupervised learning is when the machine looks for patterns without labels, like grouping customers by similar shopping habits without being told who buys what. Then there's reinforcement learning, where a machine learns by making decisions and getting rewards or penalties, like training a robot to walk by rewarding it for each correct step.
So it's either showing the computer the answers, letting it figure them out, or giving it a game where it earns points for doing well?
Exactly. It's like training a pet. Sometimes you show it what to do, sometimes it figures things out by trial and error.
I never thought of it like that. So the machine isn't really thinking, it's just recognizing patterns and improving step by step.
Yes. Machines don't have brains like us. They process numbers, find patterns, and adjust themselves to get better at their task.
And the more they practice with the right balance of learning and not just memorizing, the smarter they get.
Spot on, Paul. Machine learning is all about practice, patterns, and continuous improvement.
Thanks, Miss Green. I finally get it. Machine learning isn't some magic trick. It's really just smart training with data.
That's right. It's machines learning one example at a time, just like us.